Survivor's ready! Direct from Hobart, it's time for you to hear those so-called experts from Survivor Oz talk about another reality show, despite the fact they always said they wouldn't ever talk about Survivor. It's The Amazing Race Oz, and here's your host,
Colin Hilding. Hello everybody, and welcome back to The Amazing Race Oz, the best podcast on The Amazing Race on the Oz Network. We're joined minus Noah Groves today, since he had more important things to do after this episode, and minus Jared and minus Rossi, but we are happy to have back for the first time since the season 26 finale, maybe? If she's done choking now, we can introduce her. Welcome back to the show, Kristen Knar.
Ha ha ha, I'm back, bitches. Shout out Rachel Riley, Big Brother 12. And also, I wasn't here for the finale because I was too mad about the winners, so...
Yeah. But we are happy to say that this is still one of at least two shows that Kristen is watching on CBS reality shows right now, right?
One of two?
How do you feel this one compares to, how do you feel this one compares to Survivor, which you're currently watching as well?
I think it's much better than Survivor because there's all those, people that are doing stuff, and this one has better people doing stuff and things, and...
This is the insightful commentary we missed out on during the Amazing Race Canada all summer. If anybody's wondering why the quality of the shows was down, this is the reason why. Alright, let's move on. We're going to introduce, also, for the first time ever on an Amazing Race Oz episode, our newest Ars Lit, which we're going to try and come up with a better name for it. He's found himself out from underneath his blanket, and he's fully audible today. Why don't you introduce yourself to the world, Alec Culver?
Hello, I'm here for the first time. I'm not back, but, you know, I was muffled under a blanket with static, and I'm back and out of the dungeon, so...
That's right. Alec was very briefly the second victim of the dungeon that Kristen's still trapped in, so... one of these days, the Amazing Race will visit the dungeon, and we'll get to see it all on big screen. Let's start off with the episode before we dig ourselves any deeper here. Just general thoughts. It's both of your first time on the season, so if you want, you could give general thoughts on the season as a whole, but also general thoughts on this episode 2, titled Get In There and Think Like a Dog. Kristen, you first.
It was okay. I'm still at the point where I, don't know who half these people are, but, I don't remember what else I was gonna say. This is going really well. I had so much more to say about the episode last week, and now I don't remember anything I was gonna say. I, irrationally hate one team and irrationally love another team. I'm sure we'll get there, but I don't know. I think it's good because there's no, real ridiculous gimmick, but I miss Haley.
Yeah, there's no blind dating twist this time, but there is a funny moment at the end of the episode that reminded me of that. We'll get to that later. Alec, what did you think of this episode and the season as a whole, 2 episodes in?
Well, this episode, I'm actually not surprised by the results, to be honest. I feel they could have done a lot better editing that very last part when the 3 teams are coming to the end. But, the season as a whole, it's a decent start. It's not an amazing start. Like Kristen said, there hasn't been the very explosive personality or gimmick or anything like that so far. But it's a good season of The Amazing Race so far. Hopefully it gets better.
Yeah, episode 1 I was pretty happy with. This week I still honestly have no idea how I feel about this episode because I want to get some opinions, especially on the first 15 minutes of it, which it felt so different from other shows. And I don't know if this is something they're consciously trying to change with the show. The editing was very different. There was a much slower pace to this episode, and there were points in this episode where I was thinking this is the worst episode of The Amazing Race I've ever seen, and then there were other points thinking this is something different and kind of interesting, and other points where I was really into it. So starting off, the teams travel to Buenos Aires, and we get lots of airplane or airport scenes and drama and conversation and strategizing. So that really took up a huge chunk of the episode. Kristen, what did you think of all of the return to airport strategy in The Amazing Race?
Oh, this went over so well last time when I had nothing to say about it last season. I just, I kind of like that they set up so early the very confusing, irrational rivalry that we have. Like, that was in the airport where we're like, oh, Justin and Diana, they're the worst. And I'm like, what happened? Like, I really felt like I missed an entire episode somewhere, but no, like, the bros just hate them, and so that was fun, and, like, everybody was getting all bitchy and pissy because they're like, we have deals, no, we have deals, we don't have deals with you, and I didn't know what was happening at all because we didn't see anything. But yeah. I did real quick want to say that somebody mentioned, I think it might have been you, the new graphics on the screen, and I hate them.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of things about this season that just feel different. It's almost like a soft reboot of The Amazing Race. Alec, what did you think of all the airport talk and just the overall tone of the episode starting much slower with less explanation?
Well, that was the problem, was there was like no explanation. Like, they start out the episode with like showing Justin and Diana actually getting to know the teams, and then like 5 minutes later everybody hates them. And it's just like they really didn't actually try to get to know them and stuff like that, and like they're just trying to race hard, not saying that I like them or anything like that. Like, Diana's just fine. But it's just like, it was just very odd that they had that like put in there just to start this right. It's like they're trying to purposely create the drama that they had a lot of last season, and so I think that's part of the reason why.
It's also possible, I think, that the show didn't have any footage of what started this. Maybe there were some alliances made off camera, because we never really see footage, even the footage we saw of the teams at the beginning, which was kind of unusual. I think you see it once or twice throughout a season. The majority of the time they're sequestered, and they're surprised when they see somebody still there. So I'm thinking there probably had to have been something off camera. One other thing I noticed is that, they all go to the airport, then they have to wait until evening. Now, I think it was morning when they left. They have to wait until evening for their flight. It's a short flight. They land there in the evening. And then the first thing they do is they get to the church or whatever and find out they have to wait till morning again, which, considering they already had a rest period, if you count that up, other than them just getting on a plane and standing and waiting in line, that was 24 hours before they did anything in this episode, which I think is another thing that just kind of, I don't know if it was planned that way or it was too long of a wait, but I felt once they eventually did get in the church, like, the episode was moving very slowly, and some of it was good, some of it wasn't. But I don't know, Kristen, did you notice that it was particularly long, or did you feel that, or is that just me?
No, it's definitely not just you. I thought that it started to get better after the church, because it almost felt a little bit like last week. I did think last week was a little bit better because we got to at least see some of the teams before. Oh, I guess we did this week too, but I don't know. They felt very similar, where we saw it was like the flights, where this time everyone was kind of together. Last week there was just a little twist, but ended up meaning nothing. And then we have to wait in line, where that's exactly what we did last week, which was the helicopter rides. And here it was walking through the church. So it was kind of just, it felt like such a waste of time. Like, it was nice visually. Like, obviously they wanted to show that church. Like, that was clearly the only intention here, because there was no other reason to show that scene and make that part of the task. But yeah, it was really slow and nothing happened. There wasn't really much of a chance for anything to change. It was just whoever got to the church first would be out. And then I felt like the race was starting. I felt like we lost 15-20 minutes of an episode with nothing, and then we had the interesting race part, I guess.
Alec, what do you think?
I agree. It just felt really, really slow to begin with, because like the whole, like, normally when they show an airport scene and everybody's on the same flight, it takes like 2 minutes to get everybody like to the city and stuff like that. And it's just like, it took like 10 minutes to get to Buenos Aires. It took about 10 minutes to get through the church. And then that's when the actual like competing started. And like, I understand like why they would want to go to this church, but to me it just seemed like they were voting the Pope most is what it was than anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was a slower pace.
Yeah, it also was intentionally slower. Even the fact that when they get in the church, they're walking slowly. And again, I understand it's to be respectful or whatever there.
Mhm.
But then when they get up there and they're reading the clue, everybody's reading it so slowly and softly. And then they're turning to the camera and saying, this is where we're going next. Like, it was very hard for me to get into the first half of this episode because The Amazing Race is such a fast-paced show. And when everybody's, first of all, you have 24 hours before you do anything. And then when you do start doing stuff, everybody's moving so slowly. I was falling asleep at this point. But, Kristen, you did say it gets better after this. So they jump right into a detour. Cartoneros or Flatero. Cartoneros is basically they go around picking up cardboard and carry it around on a cart. And Flatero, was, this one really lost me. Maybe it's because none of the teams did it or because it was just the worst portrayed challenge I've ever seen, as far as like production goes on here. Something about a statue is all I put in my notes because I still don't know what the task was. So general questions. First, which one would you have done if you were on the race and which one did you find more interesting? And then general thoughts on the detours. Kristen.
I originally thought when they just had first read them that the cardboard thing would be easier because I was picturing a statue to be super breakable, and I'm like, I can't keep that shit together in the back of a truck, and I'm like picturing the truck on like shitty roads, like not that they're shitty roads in Buenos Aires, but you know what I mean.
We're making tons of judgments here about
you know what I mean, though, like going like that, it would be super difficult. But then after watching the one team that did it, it was like there was absolutely nothing to it. I don't know if they purposely didn't show them, like you said, that they didn't really explain anything because only one team did it. But like in hindsight, I would pick that one because it seemed way easier. They even had like a basket in the back of the truck where they took the pieces apart and like stored them so that it was easy to keep safe. So that seemed like super easy, but I don't know. But the cardboard thing, I was a little bit confused. Like, was this legit or was it kind of set up for the show? I was confused because, like, was there guaranteed to be enough cardboard in the general area of where this was? And like, there were 9 teams all looking for cardboard in the same places, and I couldn't tell how big of a vicinity that they were in. So the whole thing was kind of just weird to me, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I would almost lean towards that on this one, it was just every man for themselves. You know, they did say this is something that's very big in Buenos Aires, or that the Pope is kind of the one who spearheaded this movement of going around picking up cardboard or whatever. But there were, I think it was Adam and Alan, that they were looking into a couple of bins and they found nothing. And then sometimes again, when they find a lot, the one thing I noticed with the detour is that the statue one, they kind of said at the end that, you know, this one was very easy, but that it was just about the amount of time you have to dedicate to doing it. So to me, this, even though I found the detours kind of boring to watch, I like that this was more like, you know, original season Amazing Race, or the first couple seasons, where it's like one will take you longer, but it'll be easy. And then one, you know, could be harder, but there's no telling when you're going to be done. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it may have actually been just, you know, you're running around and you have to find it on your own. Alec, what do you think about that? You know, whether this is something that was planned, and then also which detours did you like better?
To be honest, I kind of feel that Amazing Race recently has gotten a lot worse with their detours than they were like back in the olden days, which was weird because they were super simple back then. But for me, I would have done the cardboard one. I lived in Korea for 2 years, and cardboard's a huge thing over there too. And like, so something like that was easy, even though it seemed a lot dirtier. And like, the only reason why I enjoyed the detour was it actually set up a bunch of like social interactions. Like it showed like the true character of some people, like the Texas boys helping out the track stars and stuff like that, and all that type of thing. And it's just like, Whereas like the reporters are the only ones that did the like statue one, and it's like they literally went up to one guy, got like Googled directions, like they even Googled them, like they didn't even like ask for them. He's like, oh, Google, and it's like, yeah, can we Google them? And then like just wrote them down in Spanish, and like pretty much had the guy like read them pretty much. And so it's just like, and like you just see like the guy back there, Joey, I think is his name or whatever, just like playing with the statue head, saying like, it's really boring back here. This is all her job and stuff like that. It's just like. It's like that. There was kind of a pointless challenge. Like, you know, it's different when like you can't have something written out. Like if they had gotten directions from him, but they couldn't write them down, that would have made it a lot more interesting in my eyes. So,
yeah, I know when Jared talked to us last season about, or it might have been on the Amazing Race Canada, about when he was interning for the Amazing Race Norway. I think it was that. These challenges, or at least for that one, they weren't planned out that far in advance. It's like, you know, the production crew gets there a few days ahead of time, and then they sort of iron out, this is the challenge. And I almost feel like this week, that's what the detours were, that they're like, well, we couldn't come up with anything interesting to do, so we saw a couple people wandering around picking up cardboard. We're like, let's make a challenge out of that. And the statue, I don't even know how it even relates to it, because usually the detours, they're two things that kind of are relatable. They just seem totally different to me. So. Yeah. I actually wrote down for the statue one, worst detour ever, partly because there's only one team doing it, and also because it was just insanely boring to watch. I also did write down the quote that you mentioned, though. The guy I just wrote down, Google? Like, he probably didn't speak the language, but he knows Google.
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Do you happen to remember approximately where Kelsey and Joey came in? I don't know if that's their names, but I think that's their names. Where they got to the dancing thing, like what place in the order of the 10 teams?
I think they were like 7th.
No.
I think they were like 7th. They were like in the bottom pack because they finished in like 7th or something like that.
Okay, because
they were like 6th to 7th, yeah.
Okay, because this kind of reminded me of that one challenge last season where it was they could either do the like what's that called? It's not bungee jump. It's the I don't know what it's called, but they had to go do some stupid like thing like out on the mountain, but there was nothing to mess up, and they just had to like climb out on like what the fuck is that called? My words aren't working.
Hang gliding?
You're not.
No,
hang
it was
gliding?
no. They literally just like walk across like the like tightrope thingy. Oh, remember that? It was that, or it was like making the sense or something, but the easy one was like way out of town, and they made it seem like that was so much easier. But then all of the teams that did the scents, the fragrances, actually got to the map first, even though the editing was confusing. But it was because the easy task was like way out of town. I remember Jenny and Jelani like getting lost trying to come back from it. Does this? Yeah. So like, I think it was that, and I think they're doing a lot of those now where they're like, all right, we don't really have 2 good challenges, so let's do like an easy thing far away versus a harder thing that's right here. So I think it kind of played out the same with Kelsey and Joey getting to the next task a little bit later in the pack, even though they had such an easy challenge.
I kind of like, again, if they do that more. Like, that's one of the things I liked about the early seasons is that, you know, you would have somebody just overtake them even though it looked like, you know, it took them longer or shorter. But I think it needs to be set up better in the episodes too, because I mean, I'm struggling to think about where they were in the order. Plus, I mean, let's move on to the roadblock, which is basically tangoing on walls and ceilings or whatever it is they're doing. The fact that one team was going at a time, again, made this... I like that it evened the teams out, but it made it a little bit hard to follow the order of the teams here. But overall feelings on the roadblock, Kristen?
I kind of liked it. I thought that they always have dancing tasks, so that was expected. And then I kind of liked that they had the added piece of making them go up the wall, and it didn't seem like it was super difficult. Like, no one got stuck there for like hours and hours, which will sometimes screw people over. It was kind of like, yes, you can get ahead of other teams, but this challenge probably isn't going to kill you, because I think that the final 3 teams were 3 of the later teams to arrive, if I'm not mistaken. So, so it did help. Like, I don't even remember who won. Okay, the green team, they won, right? So, I don't know. I do like when there's a challenge at the end where they can overtake each other and that there was a close finish at the end. Because I was even, obviously this is jumping ahead a little bit, but the whole time I was like, I want to see them in the same frame. I want to see them in the same frame once the track girls left, because they couldn't, like, you never know if they actually left at the same time. But then you saw one of them run past one of the cousins, and I was like, oh shit, this is actually a race, which is good to see. So, and I did like the challenge in general.
Yeah.
And I like seeing the bros fuck up.
The who?
The bros. They were so bad at it. It was so awesome.
As Noah calls them, the douche bros. We'll get to them in a second. Alec, how did you feel about the roadblock, the tango?
Well, I thought it was really, really good because, number one, it's like incorporating some of the like history and stuff like that of Argentina, which I like when they do that and stuff when it comes to, plus I love the tango. It's one of my favorite dances. But, and adding the incorporated of doing it on the wall and stuff like that. I also thought it was very interesting that even the guys had to learn the girls part on it. I thought that made it a lot funner and stuff. And like, but the thing is, like Kristen was saying, like, it really didn't change much as the episode came, because like after the church, when like you had that order set in the church, that's pretty much how they finished for the most part to an extent. And it was just like, and like the only team that really had to try more than twice was the douche bros or whatever, as Noah calls them and stuff. And it's just like, and they still came in second. Like, it's like they didn't really hurt them at all. Like, if they had tried it, like, yeah, they came in second. Like, they barely beat out the other two teams in the foot race or whatever. It's just like,
and Tanner did that 4 or 5 times. Like,
he only did it like
there
he did it 3, I think, 3 or 4.
Yeah,
and it's just like he was only probably there for like half an hour or something like that. Like, he was probably only like 15 minutes behind the green team or something like that. It's just like, it's like when you have somebody like Tanner and stuff who isn't that great of a dancer and stuff like that, and they even said, oh, dancing was going to be like a bad suit and stuff like that. And it's just like, why didn't, like, it would have been nice to see them like struggle like and do it like 8 or 9 times and like make it more of a race and stuff like that. So, but
I didn't mind the challenge. Like, we've seen this so many times, and it was neat to see them go on the walls, although I would have liked to have seen more of that, you know, just to make the challenge itself more interesting. I didn't even notice until you guys started bringing it up, though, that the order didn't really change here, which is interesting, because as I was watching it and seeing, you know, one had to go after the other, I was thinking to myself, this is perfect. They've actually, you know, structured the race so that this late anybody can overtake anybody, but it just so happened. It was just like by fluke that didn't really happen. But even still, I thought we got some good drama, and there was more tension. Like, at the beginning of the episode, all the teams were just way too relaxed because they had this long, you know, wait before they did anything, and then this very slow-moving church thing. This actually made the teams more competitive, which we really saw with Tanner, douche bro, and Justin screaming. What do we make of this? Like, first of all, let's get the opinion on Justin first. Were either of you annoyed by Justin and his screaming? Like, if you were there, would you have taken this as hardly as Tanner did?
Who wants to go?
Who's going to speak first?
Anybody.
Okay, this is the team that I irrationally love. I don't know.
I'm so glad. Wait. Hold on. I should specify. Which one are you talking about? Douche Bros or
Justin and Diana?
Thank you.
I love them. They do so many things that I should hate. They cry all the time. They wear those stupid fucking "it's real this time" shirts. They, like, Justin gives me so much secondhand embarrassment in both of these episodes, but I'm like, I love you. I don't know what it is. I will come up with an explanation, but it's like, he is the kind of person that, like, if he was my age and we were, like, hanging out and he was into me, for the first, like, week, I'd be like, oh my God, you're really annoying. And then a week later, I'd be like, oh, I'm totally into you, even though you're obnoxious. Like, I find them so endearing. So I love them. Was there a question here?
Yeah. No, I like your answer better than the answer to the question that could come. Well, I mean, the basic question was, would you have found was Justin being annoying or was Tanner being a douche bro? Which I think you answered.
It was probably a little bit of both, to be honest. But I think that the douche bros, just their egos are so hurt because they don't win every leg. Like, they're going to hate anybody that beats them ever. So,
yeah.
Like, I think it's all ego and all arrogance, and that's the biggest reason why I really think they were like, oh, they got ahead of us in the first leg. They clearly are competition, so I hate them. And then, so anything that they do is going to piss them off.
Alec, what are your feelings on Justin's screaming and Tanner douche bro?
To be honest, number one, I gotta say this is like the worst season of like team names ever. But but like
Green team.
Yeah, the green team, Team Texas, Team Alabama. Like, you couldn't think of anything better. Like, but no, it's just like, when it comes to the Tanner and Justin thing, Justin was just doing like what anyone else would do when it came to it. Like, he was cheering on his fiance and stuff, and so it's just like, and like just like Kristen said, like Tanner and Josh, like, they're just being annoyed by it. To me personally, I actually like both of them, and I think they're the only teams that are actually going to bring some drama this season, because everybody else seems like super duper nice. And so, but like, yeah, I kind of agree. It was kind of a little bit of both. Like, Justin was probably being over the top, but like, I also feel that Josh was just like offended by anything that Justin said. He could have said like, "Hello, you look wonderful today," and Josh would have been like, "I don't think he meant it." Like, you know, he's such a douche. I'm pretty sure that's probably what it would be like. You know.
Oh,
yeah.
Can I bring something up about that?
Yeah, go for it.
Do you think that, like, is this entirely one-sided? Because, like, they almost were making it seem like they kept cutting to Justin being, like, over the top. But I don't think he was doing anything as, like, a in-your-face, I just did something.
No.
I think this is I don't even think Justin and Diana know that they're disliked by those guys. Like,
yeah,
I'm so confused by everything. Like,
because let's think about it. Any challenge in the Amazing Race history, when a team passes, they all scream and cheer and shout. They're like, "Oh, we made it!" Like,
yeah.
It's when he did it, I just felt like the only reason it sounded awkward was because everybody else in the room was quiet because nobody else was competing at the time. That's the only reason it came across as awkward. Like, it is completely one-sided. Like you said, Alec, this is just normal. This is what people do. Because
even when the Justin Diana finished the cardboard thing, he's like, as he's running away, he like, I think like tapped one of them on the shoulder and was like, "Hey, good luck, dude." And like, as he was leaving, and you could tell that he was just like raging inside. Yeah. And like, Justin, I want, like, it's going to come to a head at some point, and I'm excited for it. I hope both of these teams last for a while. But, like, it's just so funny watching a completely one-sided argument.
Yeah. I'm not quite loving... I mean, I think I was the only one defending Tanner and Josh last week, and I don't think they're a great team, but I still don't hate them. I do find it interesting, like you said, Alec, that they are going to be a team that most people are going to be down on, but they're at least doing something. We're not seeing a lot of these teams. Oh, yeah. And like you said, Kristen, I mean, Justin is amazing. I will say at this point,
I agree.
Him and maybe Ernest and Jin are the only true stars on this show. Like, you could put them doing anything, and these guys make good TV. And I don't think anybody else has stepped up yet. So it's not irrational, because if it is irrational, I mean, I think we're both just as irrationally in love with Justin and Diana too.
I think it is a little bit irrational. Like, I am obsessed with him. Like, he is amazing. Like, they're my winner picks. So I'm like, I hope I didn't jinx this shit. Like, I just do feel like some people are annoyed by him. I guess not Diana, because she hasn't really done anything to annoy anyone. But I think that they are probably annoying someone. I haven't really checked social media or anything. But, like, to me, it's irrational. I think that I should, like, check on some, like, Amazing Race Facebook page while we're here.
Well, I actually think that Diana's strangely entertaining too, and it's funny because I don't think I can remember her speaking in these first two episodes, but it's the fact that she went into that challenge and was unfazed and owned the challenge too. Like, this isn't going to be one of those teams where, you know, one person just dominates. Obviously, he's the bigger personality, but she may be the better performer between the two. That's what I'm hoping to see. Second thing to talk about in the Tango thing. the bottom 3 teams leaving. So this is really, as some of the teams started passing, we're left with 3 bottom teams, which were Jasmine and Danielle, Ernest and Jin, and Adam and Alex, who were all struggling to finish, and then they all rush out of there. We have this hilarious scene that happens, which I don't know if this is another one of those moments where I was enjoying this episode because it was a race again. But the fact that Jasmine Danielle, I can't remember which one was doing the roadblock, wasn't allowed to put on her shoes because it would have wasted too much time. Even when they're standing on the street corner, like waving a cab. Put your shoes on then. Like it was just like, no, don't put it on. It's going to waste too much time. But it made the episode more exciting, I thought. Did we like this whole interplay? Like before we actually get to the pit stop, the whole interplay with the 3 teams. I know you said earlier, Kristen, you would have liked to have seen a scene where, you know, you saw them all in one shot, but I think it was still pretty close between all these, and that it was clearly not trick editing, that these teams were very close together.
Well, I assumed that when we did see, I have a big problem with the same-sex teams because I never know which one's which. So,
yeah.
One of the track girls, like when you saw one of them telling the other one, "Don't put your shoes on," you know that they're close. So I knew.
Yeah.
But then we did get one scene. I don't know if you caught it, but we did see one of the track girls run past one of the cousins. So we knew that it was actually a race. But I kind of liked that there were 3 teams. I did not know who was being eliminated. Normally that seems pretty obvious. I really liked the whole no shoe thing. It just like, it was so dumb almost, but I like that, like, dedication. Like, you know, the whole thing with, like, Jen and Keisha having to stop and pee and losing the race. Like, it's like, bitch, you're not putting your shoes on until we get in that cab and are headed there. Like, I like that. It makes me, like, it means that they want to be there and that they're trying as hard as they possibly can to not waste a second. And I like that. I actually like that team. I was glad that they stuck around.
Alec, what did you think about the race between the 3 bottom teams?
Well, like, the thing with the 3 bottom teams is, like we mentioned earlier, they were the last 3 teams to arrive, like, at every single challenge. So, like, it was just pretty much between those 3, like, the whole time. And it's like, and when they got to it, like, when they got to the roadblock, you knew that the dancers were going to do well at it, like Ernest and Jin. Like, but, like, I agree, they're actually part of the most entertaining part of the season. But I did enjoy the, like, not putting the shoes on. Like, my prediction, the track stars are my pick to win. And so, like, so it was very interesting. I feel like when they show, like, everybody coming to the mat, and then they show, like, the track stars coming to the mat or whatever, and then, like, right after Phil's talking to the track stars, they just go straight to, like, Ernest and Jin coming up. I feel like they could have edited that a little bit better, made it a little bit more, like, climactic if who's going. I wasn't surprised that 2 left. Like, I knew pretty much as soon as it was down to those 3 and it was pretty much going to be a foot race, I knew that the cousins were going to lose. So it's like, it was definitely, the ending was a lot than it was last episode when it was clear that TMZ was going to go home because they were still at the challenge when everybody else checked in and stuff. But, like, I would have enjoyed it a lot more if they had actually make it more climactic, like show one team come in and then make it, like, between the 2 and then show the other one instead of just bam, bam, okay, the cousins are gone, you know?
Mm-hmm. I know there was one other moment that was really good where Alex or Adam actually spotted the track stars. They're like, oh, look, they got out of that right away, right after us too. Yeah, I think that was by far my favorite part of this episode. I love when the race is a real race.
Oh yeah.
It would have been nice to see more of a race at the end, but I mean, they can't control who shows up where. But I was worried that the track stars were gone, and they haven't really done that much on this season. I mean, we'll get to them in a second, but they were my winner picks too. So maybe I'm just clinging to hope that I'll make proper predictions after what happened during the Amazing Race Canada. But yeah, I was hoping that they wouldn't be gone, and I was glad that they were the first ones in there, but totally thrown off. I thought that it was really well done how those last 3 teams checked in.
Yeah, and real quick, was it Ernest and Jin that Phil was a complete ass to?
In what way?
When he was like, "I'm sorry to tell you that you have finished.
Oh,
in
that
the
was
back.
I think that was Jasmine and Danielle, wasn't it?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they were already crying and worried.
Okay, because I was like, if they did that to Ernest and Jin, that's such a dick move because they're like homeless.
Yeah, I think it was the track.
Was it the girls?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they were crying when they came up.
Yeah.
Okay. It was still a dick move, but it's less it's less horrible that way. Never mind.
I mean, he was coming off of some awkward stuff, which we'll talk about really quickly. The pit stop greeter dancing with Tiffany or Krista. Phil is still really trying to make these love connections from last season.
Seriously.
Cindy and Rick, where he's like, these two are newlyweds, and the guy's like really awkwardly, very short time for happiness. And he's like, no. Like, Phil just went through this ordeal where CBS forced him to ask about love connections every week, and now he's stuck doing it again. And his pit stop greeter is trying to tell his newlyweds they're getting divorced in a few months. Like, very awkward stuff there. I'll definitely put him up as the best pit stop greeter so far this season. We've only had 2, but that was good. Let's really quickly go through the teams. We talked about them a lot, but very briefly sum up your opinions. First place, I did not expect them to make this kind of comeback. Justin and Diana. Kristen?
Love them.
Mm-hmm. Alec?
I did expect them to make this kind of comeback, and I also do love them.
Maybe
not as much as Kristen, because I don't love Justin that much, but
yeah, I wasn't really sure what to make them. I thought their story was really interesting in the preview episode that we did, but that I didn't see a lot from their, like, the CBS had terrible bios this time, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Sure. The first episode, I thought, interesting story, not sure about them as a team. I love Justin's intensity, and I said it last week, I'm going to say it again. This guy is like a narrating dream. Yeah. He is exactly what you hope for. He's a Jonathan Penner of The Amazing Race as far as I'm concerned. I really hope they stick around.
He's a storyteller.
Second place, Tanner and Josh. We talked to them a little bit. Anything else to add on them, Kristen?
Oh, I have so much to say.
Go for it.
First, I want to say that I am, in hindsight, thankful that I did not participate in the premiere episode of the podcast, because I would have defended them till the death, because one of them is real hot, and I don't know which one it is. But one of them is real hot.
Teams.
It's the slightly shorter one. He's real hot.
I think that's Tanner.
Tanner, okay.
He was the red shirt this week, right?
I have no idea what he was wearing. I was looking at his face. He was the one that fucking pulled his hamstring.
Yeah, that's
how did we not talk about this? That was the best moment of the entire episode. Dude runs so fast that he pulls his hamstring for nothing. No reason.
And at least he was willing to admit it, too. He's like, if I was going to do that, I probably should have been sure I was coming into first, not second.
Oh, they're the worst, and I love it. I just don't want to defend them.
Alec, you said you were somewhat fans of Tanner and Josh. Anything else to add on them?
I would enjoy them through the season just because of the drama they're probably going to cause with the green team, and I feel like they're the drama team of this season and stuff. To be honest, I don't think Tanner actually pulled his hamstring. He did just do like dancing like 60 times over and stuff, so maybe he just like had a cramp and something.
I hope he did.
In the preview of the next episode, they don't show him like limping or anything at all. They don't show him like with a wrap or anything. So like, I doubt it was a full-on pull. It might have been like a strain or something. But for them as competitors, I enjoy them for entertainment reasons. But I'm not gonna root for them to win at the moment.
I really think, again, neither of you have seen the Amazing Race Canada, but as we dubbed them, the douche bro team that won the Amazing Race Canada, infinitely better than Tanner and Josh because they had humbleness, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that the team, Gino and Jesse, who won the Amazing Race Canada, they were like Tanner and Josh, but they were humble. When they finished at the bottom, they were like, it wasn't like, oh, we're better than this. It was like, okay, well, let's try better next week. But in a way, I actually think that Tanner and Josh will be better characters for the fact that they are so competitive. And I like what you said that he probably didn't pull his hamstring, because I'm thinking now that he like probably tripped as he was coming up and felt embarrassed. But of course, as an alpha male, he's like, oh, I pulled my hamstring there. I don't know if I can walk tomorrow. We'll have to see how it goes, just play up the injury a little bit. These are like football guys, so it wouldn't put it past
He didn't
them.
do anything like Connor did a few seasons ago, so I can tell you that much.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see him on crutches for the rest of the season.
They didn't even have crutches for him, so like it wasn't that bad.
Third place, really surprised here. They were fourth last week. They're moving up. They haven't been out of the top 4 in 2 episodes. Denise and James Earl, which we're still debating, and you two can give an answer on this. Why they're calling him James Earl? It's either James Earl Jones or James Earl Ray, the assassin of Martin Luther King. I don't know why you want to associate with the name James Earl when you're in the South, but opinions on Denise and James Earl.
When I listened to the podcast last week, I didn't even notice that was a thing. Like, I didn't notice until you guys pointed it out. But
they're calling him James Earl, you mean?
They're calling him James Earl.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was a thing. So that's really weird, and I don't know why they're doing it. There's no reason that we are aware of. Maybe somebody's doing exit interviews and then we'll find out at some point, or maybe it's just a personal choice. But I totally misjudged them in the preview. I think they're a really interesting team. They didn't get as much screen time in this episode, but I did think it was really funny when they were like running really slowly to the mat and Phil was like, "Hey, behind you," and Heather and Josh overcame them. Like, I don't think that they clearly didn't care once they got there because they're literally going to leave at the same time or like a minute apart or whatever. But I do think that they have potential. Like, it's this like scrawny ass kid, and she's what, like in her 50s or something? I think
we checked 51 or 52.
Just looking at them, I would not be like, hell yeah, these guys are going to kill the race. I can see them going pretty far, actually. I mean, they could slip up, but I definitely misjudged them. I think I put them in like at the like bottom 2 or 3 in my rankings, and I would change that now if I could. I think they have a really good shot of going far.
You had them going this week, apparently.
Oops.
But also, you were totally right about what you said, that they just couldn't care less when Tanner and Josh were beating them, because if you look closely, I actually rewound it, and Denise was smiling the whole time as Tanner and Josh overtook them, and they start slowing down. They're like, yeah, you know what? These guys are idiots. Like, they don't even realize where we're at. Alec, Denise, and James Earl.
For me, I'm surprised by them, but I feel like they've been building up this whole thing about like how she can't accept him coming out and stuff like that. And I feel like just like the whole mother-daughter thing a few seasons ago, like how they were building up this whole thing about like how they were trying to rebuild their relationship and stuff like that. And then they ended up in like 7th. Like they dedicated a ton of airtime to them, and then they like were out pretty quickly and stuff. And I think like with them, I predict them in like 5th or 6th place. So I predict them to go pretty far. But like, I feel like there's going to be one episode in the near future that like she's gonna like go hard on him or something like that for like no reason, and I feel like that's kind of foreshadowing with them like saying, "Oh, she didn't like me coming out. Like she's the only one in the family. Like why aren't you with anyone else in the family that accepted you coming out then?" Like it's just like, so it's just like that's where I think it's going. I feel like there's gonna be a blow up soon, so I kind of think that Kristen might not be that wrong with the 9th place prediction. But I don't think it's going to be in the near future, like maybe 2 or 3 episodes down. So.
Well, we saw a little bit of drama from them in the preview for next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that they're setting that up because that will be a consistent thing on the show, or at least I'm hoping for it. Yeah, I love them. I think that they're hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
I think Denise is like one of the most animated characters they've ever had on this show. So I can't wait to see what happens with them next week.
Yeah.
See how that whole scene plays out with their horse.
Yeah.
Logan and Chris, one of the 3 teams that I still can't tell apart until their names are on the screen with
guy
their titles.
And a girl, like.
Yeah, that's helpful. Kristen, Logan, and Chris.
I honestly don't know who they are.
The older dating couple. I'll put it out.
Yeah, but I can't tell you like anything they did as opposed to the other teams. They're like, they don't look anything like them, but I confuse them with Kelsey and Joey.
Yeah, they were.
If you asked me going into episode 2 if there was a Kelsey or a Joey on this show, I would have said no. So I don't know who either of those teams are. So moving on.
Yeah, well, I mean, we have 3 media teams. We had the paparazzi, the TMZ, and the reporters, and it is hard. I knew who Kelsey and Joey was this week, but I'll completely agree with you. Last week, we were in the middle of the podcast, and Noah mentioned Kelsey and Joey, and I had to Google them because I'm like, were they on this season? Like, I had no clue who they were either. Alec, we're talking about Logan and Chris. Can you tell them apart from Kelsey and Joey?
I can, just because like they're probably like 20 years older. But Logan's the girl, by the way, which is weird.
Yeah, I still have trouble with that.
I've never met, like, I'm only looking at that because I'm looking at Wikipedia and seeing that she, like, and I know she performed the roadblock and it has Logan as one. So, like, that's the only thing. Like, I've never met a girl named Logan before. And so, like, it's, like, they haven't gotten a ton of airtime, so I think they'll probably be gone in the next couple legs or something. But, like, they're decent. Like, there's somebody that if they gave them a better storyline, I would probably root for, because they're like the older dating couple, like they seem to have a lot recently and such. So
5th place, Cindy and Rick. Kristen, you teased off air that there was one team that we had an irrational love for, that we all love, that you have an irrational hatred for. Is this the team? Would be my guess. You have to tell us if this is the one.
You are correct.
Oh,
there we
wow.
go. Why do you have an irrational hate for them?
I don't have an irrational hate for them. I have an irrational hate for him. She doesn't do anything, so she's fine.
This is the dentist all over again.
He drives me fucking nuts. Like, in the first episode, I understand, like, that you want to know what the task is, but he, like, needs to, like, remove stick from ass. And, like, last week's episode, when they read the clue and it was like, oh, you're going to get a question after you land, he was like, we're going to get a question. What do you think the question is going to be? We're going to get a question. What do you think they're going to ask? What do you think it's going to be about? Do you think it's going to be something we see? What do you think it's going to be? And I was like, shut the fuck up. Holy shit. And just, that is all I get from him, is, like, I feel like he should be, like, shaking from the amount of anal he is. And I just, I don't, like, I'm sitting here, like, I watched it with my mom and she's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, no, they're the worst. So it must just be me. He's probably a nice guy. It's just, like, you would think that somebody racing well and trying to read the directions well, he's, like, reading them too well for me, and I can't deal.
Mm-hmm. Alec, do you have an irrational love for them? Can we counter some of the damage Christian's done to our reputation with contestants here?
Okay, so to start out the first episode, yes, they were probably my favorites when I first got to know the teams and stuff like that. Like, they have the coolest name. They're the only ones with a cool, like, team name. Shack Attack. Like, everybody else is like the cousins, the dancers, and they're like Team Shack Attack. Like, they're actually a team. But then when they came to, like, that detour and there was, like, the volleyball or the puzzle thing, like, and he's just, like, taking over and stuff like that, that's when I was starting to be like, oh, this is not going to go well. And then this episode, like, you barely even saw them, to be honest. And it's just like, so do I have a little bit of love for them? Yes. Do I think that they go far? And do I feel like as disgusting about them as Kristen does? No. but like, yeah, just like she said, I don't hate her. Like, she seems to be amazing. I hate him, if I were to hate either of them. So
yeah, I kind of like them still.
Yeah.
They weren't that big this week, but I'm still proposing, like, Shack Attack. Yeah, it is interesting, but I put up hashtag GynoTooth in the first episode, and I still want hashtag GynoTooth to trend at some point during this season.
Gotcha.
So, all of our listeners out there, if you can just send us in the comments, all you have to do is put hashtag GynoTooth. We want some support for that. Let's get their name changed this season. Tiffany and Krista, they're moving up from 10th to 6th this week. That's a big jump. Any opinions on Tiffany and Krista? I'm almost afraid to ask. Kristen?
Are those the cheerleaders?
Yeah, the cheerleaders.
I actually like them. I am much higher
were they on Teen Mom or something?
No.
Okay.
I'm much higher on them than you guys were last week. I think, like, I get that they're, like, emotional and shit, but they they're trying. I thought it was like, I just think they're really cute. Like they're not the same kind of adorable as I find Justin and Diana, but they just, I don't know. I still find them a little bit endearing. Like when somebody left to the dancing challenge and was like, guys, it's a dancing challenge. They were so excited, and I just think they're really cute. And that, like, they're really trying. Like, I keep going back to last week because I didn't get to talk about it last week, but like they were getting kind of defeated, but they were like, we need to finish this puzzle, while the TMZ team was just like making fun of the other team. And I'm like, I kind of like that they were fighting for that last place spot, like that they were doing everything they could, which I didn't feel like TMZ was really fighting to stay in the race. And I like when a team is willing to fight. So,
Alec?
So this is where Kristen and I will have a difference of opinions. To be honest,
that'll happen a lot.
Yeah. No, it's okay. Like I can understand why people would like them, like why you would like them and stuff, which is weird because you hate everybody else and stuff. But but like when it comes to the cheerleaders, I do agree that they're like perseverance and stuff like that, like wanting to stay in the race. That is endearing. But them as people, like them as characters and stuff like that, sucks because it's the exact same thing every single time we do it. Everybody thinks we're like not athletic. Everybody thinks that we're like not smart. Everybody thinks that, like, it's just like they're basing their like whole character on these stereotypes, which is normal for like the cutesy team or whatever. Like they always seem to have the cheerleaders, or like they had like ice hockey crew or whatever when it was Leo and Jamal's first season or whatever. And it's just like they always have that one team that like everybody's supposed to underestimate, and like they're kind of playing it up with them. And to be honest, I don't think any team's underestimating them. Like if there was any team that they could have built that storyline better with, it would have been the Cousins, because they were like actually like smaller and like different from everybody else. But like these are like cheerleaders. Like it's not like the, you know, some thing that people can actually underestimate and stuff. Like it's just like they're like playing up the stereotype more than I think the other teams are actually playing up the stereotype. Like nobody's like, oh yeah, the cheerleaders are going to be gone first. They're not saying that at all. Except for TMZ.
Yeah, well, see,
that's the reason
really
why. Like, but yeah, except for TMZ.
I completely agree with you, Alec, because I was saying in our preview episode how it's like, I hope I never hear another, you know, young, attractive female team ever again say people underestimate us because we're good looking. It's like, that's kind of the opposite of what happens. I mean, generally the perception is if you're good looking, you get breaks that other people don't, you know? If you're short and ugly and, you know, 200 pounds overweight, then you can maybe say people underestimate me. But it is kind of unfortunate though. Like you said, Kristen, last week, TMZ, that was the issue. And I had a huge issue with TMZ saying like, oh, guys always underestimate us in our workplace because we're women. And then the only other all-female team standing right next to them is like, we can't lose to cheerleaders, you know?
Yeah.
But it is unfortunate because I'm still annoyed, like you are, Alec, that they are playing up that whole underestimated thing when nobody is really doing that. But we also saw that last week. So I just don't want it to become like a recurring story, you know, kind of like how the only thing we ever hear from the reporters is talking about when we're on camera and doing reporting, you know, the only time we ever hear from the cheerleaders is when people are underestimating us. Like, move on from it, because I will also agree with you, Kristen. They are fun characters, and I'm warming up to them more than I thought I would. I liked, like you said, their excitement over the dancing challenge. I thought that they were a fun team this week, but I just never want to hear them again say people underestimate us. So I'm agreeing with both of you. We move on from them. We're at, we're so sorry if you're listening. We're going to blame CBS editors, but Kelsey and Joey, do we know who they are enough to comment, Kristen?
I just want to say I want to take this and backtrack to that other team that I don't know who they are, Logan and Chris.
Okay.
Alec mentioned that he thinks that they'll probably go out soon. I've actually been thinking the opposite about one or both of these teams, because these are the two teams that I just don't know who they are at all. And for us, I remember last season when we were podcasting, that was Tyler and Laura for us, where for the first few episodes, we were like, we have no idea who this team is. And there was, I don't remember who the other team was, but I know there was another team that we kept saying, we don't know who they are, and I don't remember how far they went. But I think that at least one of these two teams is probably going to make it to like the top 4. Just gut feeling of editing that they're not that exciting, but they're just going to be solid, consistent racers and make it to maybe top 4 or something. But I don't really have any. Oh yeah,
Allie and Steve last year. Yeah, yeah, that was the other one.
I think that I think both of them have a good chance. They'll just probably not get much airtime, but they're decent racers, so good for them.
And a good point. Like, I completely forgot last year that we were talking about how boring Laura and Tyler were, pretty much all the way up until Monte Carlo when they had their alternate identity. What was it? Magdalene and Hayes.
Yeah.
And from that point on, they were fun teams. So you never know when one of these teams can come back. But for now, do you have anything to add on? I already forgot their names. This is terrible. Kelsey and Joey. I turned away from the page for a second and forgot their names. Alec, Kelsey, and Joey.
So, like, I think this was the one team that actually did that statue thing that was, like, stupid. But, yeah, like, to be honest, like, I don't know anything about them. And like Kristen said, there could be a team that could go far. Like, if it was to be between Kelsey and Joey and Logan and Chris, I would choose Kelsey and Joey as the team that went farther than Logan and Chris. But, as far, like, if you have to Google directions just to like get to where you need to go, I don't really see how good of a racer you can be. To be honest, like, I know that was the guy's idea that they were asking, but it's just I still have like no opinion at the moment. My dad hated them in the first episode because there was always like every single time you saw them, it's like, hello and welcome to Kelsey and Joey on the race, whatever. And it's just
that's their only gimmick so far.
I know, but like it's better than freaking like, hey, everybody underestimates us gimmicks. You know?
Yeah, exactly. It is weird though. Again, we mentioned this in the preview episode, and I'm really starting to see the other side of it now. In the preview episode, we were saying it's really unusual that we have these 3 media teams, like the paparazzi, the TMZ, and then the news anchors, because they're all so similar. And when I was interviewing Mike and Rochelle a couple of weeks ago, Mike was talking about how, his real profession was as a pro wrestler. But even though there were no other pro wrestlers really on his season, CBS said, don't even mention pro wrestling because they'll confuse you with the wrestlers Brooke and Robbie from the previous season. Mm-hmm. And we thought that was all stupid at the time. And I think it still is stupid considering all the different seasons, but we're kind of seeing now how this can be an issue, having teams that have very similar, branding and similar professions, because they are just all getting mixed up, at least for us right now.
They kind of like cancel each other out is kind of the thing.
Yeah.
It's just like,
and even though
they don't want to play.
If you were to say, like, let's switch it around. If we were to say, Logan and Chris are paparazzi and Kelsey and Joey are dancers, we'd probably be talking about Kelsey and Joey more right now. There's just not much to go on here.
Yeah.
It's amazing we had nothing to say about them and we took up probably about 5 minutes talking about them. Theories for next week. This one I'm sad at. Big drop from last week, 2nd to 8th. We still haven't seen that much from them, but I like rooting for the female athletic teams. Jasmine and Danielle dropped from 2nd to 8th, but of those bottom 3 teams, they did come out on top, despite being the last ones out. Kristen, feelings on Jasmine and Danielle?
I like them. They're not really big characters right now. I'm hoping that we'll get more from them, but I don't know. I generally like them. I actually know who they are, and they've made an impact on the show on like a couple of the teams, but I guess it's only because they were in this race at the end. But again, I don't want to put the track girls with the cheerleading girls, but I feel like they also have a fight, like how I was talking about before with the shoes and shit. Like they have a fight to do well. Like, I don't know. I appreciate some of those teams that will kind of just do tiny little things to try and push themselves ahead, even if it might save them 4 seconds. I kind of appreciate that.
Alec?
Since they are my picks to win this season, I kind of view them as like, there was the cyclists or whatever a couple seasons ago that went for the fast forward, like Kim and Ali, I think is what it was.
Yeah, you just brought up one of my all-time favorite teams.
Oh yeah, I
had to gasp for a second.
Yeah, I love them, but like it's just like I feel like that's like what these tracks says it's supposed to be like. If you look at Kim and Ali, they like started really crappy and then like became like the best team like overall after that. And it's just like, I feel like the only reason why the track stars were at the bottom was because they got the very last ticket into the church. Like, that's why I hate when it's like that, when it's like, if they had actually just like went straight into the church and like didn't have that slower pace thing. It's just like, that's the only reason why they were behind in the first place, was because the taxi took like 30 seconds longer to get there than anybody else's, and like that put like a 5-minute gap in between each team and stuff. And it's just like, and like they did make a good comeback. The shoes was freaking hilarious and stuff. And so like, I'm rooting for them. I think they'll make a great comeback as long as there's no stupid things like picking numbers to go inside this church that gets them like a 20-minute difference, you know?
They were my preseason pick to win too, and I'll still hold to that just because I don't want to be wrong 2 seasons in a row. But just looking through it here, all of us put them in the top 3. Actually, all of us put them in the top 2. Jared put them in 3rd, and Noah's the only one that put them outside the top 3. So I think we all had high expectations for them. But one other thing I wanted to mention on them that I really liked, and this is just more something that I think helped the episode, especially that second half of the episode really improve, was the fact that we heard other teams talking about, we can't get into a foot race with Jasmine and Danielle because they will win.
Yeah.
And it never happened in the episode, but it's something to keep in the back of your head. You know, usually the only times you ever think about somebody's profession is, it's a dancing challenge. The dancers are going to do well at this. You know, it's a surfing challenge. You know, there's no sense in challenging them for the fast forward. Another painful memory for me. But,
yeah.
But the fact that they brought that up, I'm hoping this is something that comes up later in the season where it does come down to a foot race. And we could see it go one way or the other. You know, if they lose in a foot race, that's still a great story. So I like just little mentions of that where it's worked into, you know, the storyline. This is, you know, a real threat here. Ernest and Jin, wow, these guys are struggling, but I'm still maintaining there is not 1 second they're on TV where it's not absolutely hilarious to watch them. Kristen, what are your feelings on Ernest and Jin? You didn't even give us a preseason opinion on them, so go now.
Oh God, they're such bad racers, but I love them. This is like my, what was the team last season that I was obsessed with that was out like second? The wanted to get married couple.
Yeah, CJ and Libby.
Yeah. Like, they're like my CJ and Libby, where I look at them and I'm like, oh my God, they are so going home in the next like week or two. Like, I cannot see them overcoming just being terrible. They seem like they should be good. I mean, they have experience in like 400 different kinds of jobs. They're clearly athletic. They did well at the dancing thing, obviously. And like, looking at them, I feel like they should be a good team, but just these first 2 episodes, I don't think that they're going to make a comeback. I think that they're just going to suck and go out early, but I really like them. But by the way, if you are going to criticize the cheerleader girls for saying the same line over and over again, all we've goddamn heard from these 2 is that they have no home. So, bye.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. No, I was thinking that during the episode, I'm getting tired of hearing it already, especially because one of these guys does have a home. Like, the other one sleeps in his car. He says he sleeps in his car, right? Maybe he sleeps in his car in the driveway of his house. I don't know. But the other one lives with his mom still. So it's like, when he says, we don't have a home to go back to, I was like, you're fun characters. Let's not keep hearing all this depressing stuff, especially when it is the same thing every week. So, no, I'm totally in agreement with you on that, too. I think we just need to see some variety. We don't need to keep being reminded of these teams' backstories. So, Alec, anything to add on Ernest and Jin?
I do agree that the home thing is kind of getting old, but like, they're a team that reminds me a lot of Mark and Bopper, one of my all-time favorites. From a few seasons ago, that like they started out the race super duper slow and then like made a comeback and ended up Final 5 and stuff like that, became like one of the team's favorites and stuff. Like you said, Colin, like they are very entertaining. Like I enjoy watching them. They're one of my favorite teams this season, but they are such bad races, and I kind of feel like they're kind of taking it like, you know, easy. Like they're not really as intense as someone like Justin or the douche bros are and stuff like that. But like if they were to take it up, like kick it up a notch, which I think this 9th place finish will help them like kick him in the rear, because like the first episode they finished in like 7th or whatever, like they were in the middle of the pack, they didn't really mind that as much. But like this almost going home, and then like the hopefully it'll give him a kick in the rear. And the fact that they said that they like work 5 jobs and still have no home, like if I worked 5 jobs I would buy like 6 homes. Like I could buy a home with my one job right now, like, and I'm working part time. Like,
sucks about America.
It's kind of true.
Yeah, it is weird because some of his 5 jobs are pretty respectable jobs too.
Yeah.
Then I can't, again, when you have same-sex teams, like, I don't think we ever talked about it until you mentioned it today, Kristen, but it's so hard to know who's who.
I don't know which one's which, so, to be honest.
I don't know who any of them are in any of the couples, except that you told me that Tanner was the one that I think is hotter, and that's about...
Yeah, which I could be completely wrong on.
No, that's right. Because he's the one who did the roadblock, so...
Look at this. Tanner is so hot, even the men on this show are noticing.
Good point.
Let's talk very quickly about the last place team, Alex and Adam. Anything really to say on them? I don't really feel like they stood out as much as they should have based on how much hype they were getting preseason. Kristen, do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, I mean, they were big fans, and that's probably why there was any kind of hype. But I don't know. They didn't add that much to the show. I thought that they could have been interesting, but I don't know. I felt bad for them. I thought it was a tough loss. You could tell how upset they were. And right now we're at the point where I don't really hate anyone except for my random irrational hate for Rick. So like any loss kind of sucks right now. So I don't know. I don't really have too many feelings on them. I think that by next episode I'll kind of have forgotten that they were even there. But I mean, I'm glad they got to do it, but I don't even know if their height was a problem. Like, this didn't really come down to a foot race, did it?
No, and again, like, we mentioned this in the preview episode, and I think last week too, but it's said in all the preseason stuff that they're 5 feet tall. That's not that short.
Yeah, that's like Russell Hantz.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Russell Hantz was good at certain things, I think this is just a season where maybe they look shorter because they're surrounded by taller people. But I've known people who are 5 feet tall. I don't think it was really ever a disadvantage for them in the race, and we didn't really get to see a lot of personality from them. I'm not sure why, but Alec, anything to say about Alex and Adam before we leave them behind forever?
Who were they? Wait, no.
Yeah,
but they had a potential for a good storyline, but the editors didn't give them anything. I seriously heard 2 words out of their mouth the whole time. The only thing I really remember them saying was when they were the volleyball challenge, when they were with the dancers or whatever, and they're we might not be able to spike it and stuff, but we can still get it over the net. That's the only thing I remember them saying the whole time. And it's just and they were kind of I had high hopes for them just for the fact that they were invisible the first episode, and they were still invisible this one. Just kind of how we were talking about Laura and Tyler earlier. They were invisible for the first little bit, and then they started showing up. And so I had high hopes for them, but when I knew it was coming down to a foot race between the dancers, the track stars, well, not a foot race, but a close race between those 3, I knew that they were gone in that point. It's kind of you have 2 6-foot dancers and 2 track stars, versus 2 5-feet people. So it's just I'm 6 foot, my sister's 5 foot, I can beat her in a foot race any day. It's not that hard. I could walk faster than she can run. It's so
I feel kind of bad like you, Kristen, where it's not that I dislike any of the teams, but I was really rooting for them to be gone. I was watching with my wife, and I even turned to her and I'm I really hope that Alex and Adam are gone. And then she's like, why? I'm because I just don't want the other 2 gone,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's kind of just the wrong spot for them. But maybe it is because they're such big fans that we didn't see the personality. They just seemed to me when it did show them that they just looked like they were taking everything so seriously, whereas a lot of the other teams are having more fun. So
yeah, I think we have 2 different sides of the coin with them and Justin and Diana. They're both really, really big fans of the show. And we have they both looked like they should have been some sort of character, but I feel even preseason it seems like the Alex and Adam should have been bigger characters, and it kind of is we're getting the Justin Diana of we are gonna fight till the bitter end for this. We are so invested in this, and even though the cousins, they did try, I just feel like they were kind of lost. They didn't have the same drive as Justin Diana. It was almost first place and last place. We had the 2 big super fans of the show and how they had different fates. I don't know. That's just me.
Yeah. I think that's the other good team to compare it to, because those are the super fans. But we were saying the same thing about Justin and Diana, that considering their story, and the same thing with Alex and Adam, they should have been more interesting, that they didn't really come out. So I think after 2 episodes, if there was anything really good to show, they would have shown. And again, maybe I think it's just the fact that they are a super competitive team. But as they leave us, I'm going to take a random stab, and I think I already know the answer. Kristen, do you have a better hashtag than hashtag the cousins for Alex and Adam?
Hashtag I don't play this game.
Oh, I thought you were going to actually say something for a second. My jaw dropped at the second you said hashtag. I'm like, I think I somehow tricked her into playing this game. Oh, okay, she's back, everybody. We're missing Rossi on here to say hashtag I don't care, but we get hashtag I don't play this game. Alec, are you going to be the one person playing the game this week? Do you have a better hashtag for the cousins than hashtag the cousins?
I actually enjoy this game, but I hate hashtags, but I enjoy like creating them. But I would probably say hashtag small feet big heart.
That's pretty good. I'm going to bring back a hashtag from the Amazing Race Canada. And it just goes in line with what we were talking about, Alex and Adam being too serious. I'm going to go with hashtag more fun than flow. For anybody who listened to the Amazing Race Canada, or anybody who remembers Amazing Race Season 3, more fun than flow needs to be trending. And yes, hashtag 5-foot Russell. Kristen did play the game. We're going to call her out. She just didn't want to say it verbally.
I will second that because I saw it too. So
yeah, there we go. We have evidence. Kristen
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, she's ashamed to admit that she played a game here.
And I think Russell's 5'4", so like if he's listening to this, he will be a fence at 5 foot. So
oh, he's a giant. Do we have any comments? Did you see the previews for the upcoming episode? What's the title here? Where My Dog's At?
What is
we were really
hoping
to see more dogs. Well, when they were in Argentina for the Amazing Race Canada, we were mentioning that there were all these dogs just in the street, like running out in front of cars. Like there were suicidal dogs that all looked malnourished everywhere. So when we saw the episode titles, we were hoping to see dogs. And I don't even remember. It says Justin had the quote this week, "Get in there and think like a dog." When did he say that? Does anybody remember?
It was with the cardboard when she didn't want to go inside like one of the cardboard containers to get like the last few things, and he's like, "Get in there and think like a dog," or whatever.
Yeah, I literally only picked up on that because I was like, did he just call his girlfriend a dog?
Yeah, exactly.
I was still too bored at that point. I wasn't even picking up on what was happening. Any opinions on the preview for next week, Where My Dog's At? That the preview really didn't show us any dogs, I don't think. I think it showed us like a plastic horse.
Yeah.
But, looking forward to next week, Kristen?
Sure. I don't really remember anything. I think there were people running around and team mom, son was fighting.
Bates
so that
Motel.
should be fun. Yeah, that should be fun. I think that hopefully that means they're getting some airtime, and they're definitely up there and one of the teams that I think we all want to see a little bit more from because they have potential. So
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Uh-huh.
And like you predicted, there would be Alec. It looks like fighting between Team Texas and Justin next week. So, do you have any opinions on next week's episode? Anything you're looking forward to?
I think it'll be interesting to see the Denise and James Earl, because he has to be called James Earl. That whole fight and stuff. I thought it was very interesting in the this is the reason why I'm convinced that he didn't have to pull the hamstring. They didn't even mention will he be able to overcome his injury? Like they didn't even mention anything like that.
Yeah.
And
his quote injury.
Yeah, his quote pulled hamstring, just like their bike broke. Just they're coming up with these things of why they aren't doing as well as they should. But yeah, it was like it'll be interesting. I feel like this next episode will probably be the best one of the 3, just for the fact that it'll actually show some drama not just between teams, like between the douche bros and green team and stuff, but they actually have the teams fighting with, the mother son one and stuff. Mm-hmm. So hopefully it's good.
And that's it for episode 2. And thank you for both of you for joining me here today, as everybody on the Australian side decided to not watch it, or they're just afraid since daylight savings is happening over there that we're going to have a mix-up like we had last season. But you both had more commitment than Rossi, so props there. And Kristen, you came back and you somehow helped us stretch an episode that was insanely boring with nothing happening for almost 30% of it into over an hour-long episode. So thanks for contributing.
Sorry I talk so much.
Yeah.
Don't say sorry. It makes it fun.
We will say hashtag for this episode is hashtag Kristen really did play a game. And Alec, you've been here for the first time, and you have already said more opinions than Rossi gave us in the entire season of 26. So thanks for joining us as well.
No problem. Anytime.
And that's it for this week. Next week we'll be back, and you can still listen to Survivor. We're covering Second Chances Cambodia, which Kristen's
Great
watching.
season. Amazing season. I love it.
She's very excited. She'll be on the next Oztopsy if
Fucking
anybody's
love
looking
it.
for her.
I'll
And if
see
you
it
don't see
everywhere.
Kristen,
I
you
live
don't see
tweet it
Kristen
every
on
week.
the-
Hit me up on Twitter. I'll give you my opinion.
yes, follow Kristen's live tweets for Survivor Cambodia. And that's it for us. And until next time, we will speak to you on the planes after our 24-hour unnecessary layover.